Peace, peace, peace. Let's see who come up in the spot. Let's see who come up in the spot. Live on 3. Live on YouTube. Live on Instagram. Live on Insight Timer. Let's do it. Let's rock and roll. We usually start at about the 7-minute mark. So in a few minutes, we'll see who comes up in here and then we'll get started. If anybody's in Insight Timer, anybody on Instagram. Melanie, how you doing? Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings. Charlene, how you doing? Peace and blessings to you. How's everybody doing in Insight Timer? Dr. Ein, peace and love. All right, that's what I like to hear. Becky, good day. How you doing? How's everybody feeling today? Veronica, Jolene, Aloha. Okay, Rebecca, this is your first live event. Okay, well, hopefully I make this inspiring for you. Hopefully we have some fun. I think next week I may do a meditation, but usually when I do these live events, I like to talk and cover certain topics. And this particular topic I think is very important. It is very important. We're going to discuss changing your reality. And Nami, how you doing, Nami? Hello, beautiful soul, she said. Hello to everybody. First time here, Nami. Good. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. Hopefully you enjoy it and come back. I think this is going to be fun. I was thinking about this for a very long time. For a very long time. And like usually when I think about a topic for a long time and it marinates in my unconscious mind, usually sometimes you'll see me come here and I'll give one of these live streams and I'll have like this many notes. See all of this? It's like dozens of index cards and notes. And then when I have time to think about it for like a couple of weeks, then my notes are like this. So these are my notes. These are all of my notes. That's all I'm going to need for tonight. I think, 6 sentences? I had so much time to think over it. I'm excited about it. Alyssa, hello, hello. Hopefully everybody is doing well. I know there was some storms going across the country and all kinds of things happening. Hopefully you guys are safe. Your families are safe. Hopefully you're feeling good. Hopefully, not only do you feel good, hopefully you realize that, you're beautiful. Hopefully you realize that you are beautiful, that you are loved. Hopefully you're in a place where you understand that you are safe to express yourself. I told my son a little while ago, we were at the swimming pool and we were at the shallow end. It wasn't too deep. And I was trying to get him to jump in. His younger brother was jumping in, no problem. He was a little nervous. He didn't want to jump in. And I taught him, I said, baby, say this to yourself. Say, I am stronger than fear. And he said, I'm stronger than fear. And then he jumped in the water. And then he did it again. And he said, I seen him standing at the edge of the pool. And I heard him like whisper the words, I'm stronger than fear. And then he jumped in. Psh! And after a while, it got to the point where he wasn't afraid anymore. He just jumped right on in. And that's how I want you guys to feel. Thank you. Thank you, Anami. Yeah, so that's how I want you guys to feel. I want you to be stronger than fear. I want you to feel safe. I want you to feel protected by the divine energy of the universe. Just move in a divine flow, and everything will be okay. And don't be afraid of anything. That's right, Debbie. Stronger than fear. Peace. Oh, what's going on? What's going on, Norman Beast? Glad you're in the building, my brother. Peace and blessings. You about to go in like a few minutes. I'll get started around the 7-minute mark, so hang out for a little bit. Hopefully everybody's doing real good. In about 3 more minutes, I'm going to start. And if anybody watching on Insight Time or anybody watching on YouTube, anybody watching on Instagram, y'all want me to cover a particular topic, just put it in the chat. Shaban, how you doing? Howdy, Pippi. New Jersey, okay. Oh, you call it from, Vince, you're in Bangkok. Okay. That's cool. I never had anybody join. At least I don't think I had anybody ever join one of my talks from Bangkok. Becky, Australia. Wow. Rosanna, how are you? Glad you're here. Nicole in Oakland, what's up? I think the furthest away I had somebody join one of my talks, I did a talk on Sufism. and somebody joined from Iran. Somebody from Iran joined, I believe. I think it was Iran. But that was cool. Valerie, hello. Julia, you in Chicago, Asheville, North Carolina. Yeah, North Carolina is about, I think, 10 hours from me. You're in Los Angeles, Gina. Okay, cool. Everybody representing where they from. Everybody representing where they from. We're gonna get started soon. Keep the energy positive. Keep the energy up. We're about to have some fun tonight. Thetica, where you from? Veronica, is your first time here? Okay. I try to do these every Wednesday at 11:11. I used to do 2 every Wednesday, but I'm busy. And tomorrow my kids are going to like a new school, so I definitely wouldn't have the time to do 2. Louisiana. I'm not too far from Louisiana. Long Island, New York. Okay. Valerie from Maine. So we got people from all over. All came here to get this positive energy. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. We're getting close to the 6-minute mark. So in about a minute or so, we're gonna get started. If you know anybody who you think needs some positive energy, invite them. Tell them to hop on Insight Timer and come through. My goal is hopefully within the next month or so, I might change the time I do it because I want to have more people come in. I have about 700 followers, I think, on Insight Timer. And if possible, just once, I want to see everybody join in. I think that'd be really cool. I'll do like a real cool meditation. Anybody who remembers from when I used to do meditations last year, I used to do like all kinds of cool stuff. We tried to do experiments to see if we were psychic. We tried to do experiments to astral project. I sang some songs. I'm working on something new. I did a hip hop meditation. So yeah, I'm working on something new with a friend of mine. Hopefully I can get it done and upload it to Insight Timer. You're still in hurricane mode? Yeah, I know. At my job, I was getting a lot of people calling in saying they were, dealing with the hurricane and had to move at the last minute and stuff. So we're definitely glad that you're here. Glad that you're safe, first of all. And glad that you're here with us. Get some positive energy. All right. 7 minutes in. I usually start at the 7-minute mark and let everybody cruise on in. So let's get started. So I was thinking about somebody I used to work with. I used to work in a drug rehab facility for adolescent males. A lot of those kids went through tough times. They went through hell. And a lot of them were dealing with trauma, depression, anxiety. A lot of them were medicated. Some of them were not. And a lot of these kids just had really rough lives. And it made them tough people. It made them tough. It made them fragile. I mean, it made them really, really, really difficult to, it desocialized them. Trauma desocializes people and makes it difficult for you to make connections and have relationships that are not toxic. And so a lot of these kids were just going through emotional hell, right? And there was one guy I used to work with. His name was Ernie. Can't remember his last name, but he was a guy who had gone through AA and NA. He was a guy who was like a hardcore biker, but in a biker gang, hardcore biker dude. Like he didn't care. He would tell us stories about how he used to rob people, how he robbed his own. I mean, I don't want to go too much into his story. It's not my place to talk about too much of his stuff. But he was like a real tough Luger back in the day when he was young, like a real ruthless dude. And he'll tell us all kinds of stories about things that he did. And it's interesting watching him because to hear him tell the stories that he used to tell about how he was, and then to see how he was a guy who was more positive. He had become a Christian. He was working at a job trying to inspire the youth. He was a sponsor at NA and AA, so he was helping other individuals get sober. And just watching him was amazing because he had done a complete transformation of who he was. And that got me thinking, how do people change? How do we go through the process of changing? Because your behavior is interesting because your environment affects your behavior. Your behavior actually affects your neurochemistry, and your neurochemistry affects your DNA. So a lot of us change on such a deep level when toxicity is around us. Toxic behavior, toxic friends can literally change your DNA. That's epigenetics. And certain environments can create certain neurochemical reactions in your body, cortisol and adrenaline. So imagine having high levels of cortisol, high levels of adrenaline all the time, never being able to find peace within yourself. That literally can change your DNA, change your health, your blood pressure, you gain weight, diabetes, even mental health issues, depression, high anxiety, that sometimes you might need to be medicated, suicidal ideations, homicidal ideations. All these things occur within us and can change us on a very deep molecular cellular level. It's crazy if you think about it. So change is extremely difficult because all that toxicity in the environment around you, whether it's physical toxicity, like if you live in an environment where you're living under a power line and you're living next to a landfill, that could change your DNA, but also being around negative toxic energy can change your DNA. We think of our relationships in terms of intangibles. We think that a relationship with another human being is something intangible that we are not going to be affected by in a physical, tangible way. But you can scientifically trace, looking at people's bodies, you can see who has grown up in a safe environment and who has not. I remember reading years ago in one article that was saying that scientists have figured out that kids who grow up in an environment where they don't receive love are actually physiologically different from kids who grow up in an environment where they feel loved and protected. So if you don't have love in your life, it can literally change. It could change your body. So it's hard to change. You feel what's going on? What's going on, man? Peace, brother. Got my boys on Instagram watching. But being around toxic people can literally change your body. So changing is very, very difficult because not only is it a habit, your habits are embedded in your brain structure and your neural structure, and your neural structure affects your neurochemistry, right? And your neurochemistry affects your body. So how can you change all of that? How can you change all of that? How can you change something that has gone so deep inside of you that it's affecting your body? And let's not even get into the spiritual aspect of all of that. If you're dealing with toxic people and you around toxic people, that can actually change you on a spiritual level. If something could change you on a physical level, on a deeper level in your soul and in your spirit, it could change you there as well. I believe there's such thing as spiritual sickness. I think that we get spiritually sick. You can malnourish the body and toxify the body. You could malnourish the spirit and the soul too. So how can you change when you got all this toxicity and all this poison and all this all this fear and trauma embedded in your very body and in your very soul and spirit? How can you change? Change is a very difficult process. And sometimes change is easy because sometimes you just get sick of being where you are. But I've noticed with a lot of individuals, they get sick of being where they are and sick of living how they live. But at the same time, it's still hard to change. I know alcoholics who are sick of alcoholism and can't stop drinking. I know individuals who hit rock bottom more than once. They say once you hit rock bottom, you're ready to change. I know individuals who hit rock bottom at least a dozen times. Yes, and that's an important one too. I did one of these live streams about that, Laverne, ancestral trauma. Hopefully they start making these live streams available to y'all so y'all can go back to the archives and see. I did one just about that. So all this pain is embedded in you. And it's hard to let go and it's hard to change. So there is the Bible says a straight and narrow path. You can change, but you got to be very specific about what you do and how you dedicate your time and how you dedicate your energy in order to really change. You dated a narcissist for 3 years, ended up in spiritual awakening. Well, Vince, that's great. You're one of the lucky ones. Yep, that's right. That's what we're talking about, sir. We're talking about generational curses. So let's ask the question: how can we change? How can we change? What do you have to do in order to change something in your life? And I wrote down a few things that I've had to do over the years. And I noticed one thing that we do is that prevents us from changing is the fact that we have a default conception of reality, meaning that we train ourselves to accept whatever reality we find ourselves in. I don't know what that is. It could be an evolutionary thing. It could be us just being adaptive because we have to adapt to survive in certain environments. So a lot of times when we are presented with an obviously toxic reality, our brain will adapt and tell us, well, it is what it is. It's normal. I remember when I was going through very, very, very deep depression. Mindfulness coach, peace. I was going through very deep depression for years during my late adolescence, early 20s. But I trained myself to feel like this is just normal. People are just depressed. Life just sucks. So I developed this weird kind of humorous cynicism about my own mental health. And I would have intense suicidal ideations. I would just joke about it. Hey, I'll just kill myself one day. It was funny to me. And I'm revealing this to you guys as I really want to be as open and vulnerable with you guys as humanly possible. The thing about it is we adapt to whatever toxicity is in the environment, and for years, sometimes decades, sometimes people spend their entire lives thinking that they're toxic. their toxicity is normal and it's not a big deal. Yeah, thank you, Anami. I appreciate that. Yeah, familiarity gets read as security. That's a big part of it. But also, not only does it get read as security, it gets read as safe and normality. We're saying, yeah, exactly. You read it as security, but we read it as not only secure, but we read it as just normal. And we start to see the world in that kind of way. We start to see the people around us and their relationships. We start to see things happening around us. And we think that all of this terror, all of this dysfunction is how the world functions. Our whole definition of what's going to work and what's not going to work changes. So you go through life thinking that dysfunctional things are how things function. You think you think a toxic situation is as pure as the situation can get. You think a dangerous situation is as safe as the situation can get. We accept these things as normal, right? So the first step in changing is to be honest with yourself and to admit that on some level you are deficient. Now let's stop for a second, because I think that we live in this politically correct culture where people can't use certain words in certain terms, and so we have to tap dance around the issue. And I think that so much tap dancing is being done that what happens is the issue doesn't get addressed and people become they remain comfortable. You know, we have this culture, and I'm gonna talk about this one day too. We have this culture where we want to get rid of shame, right? We want to get rid of people feeling ashamed. And of course, you shouldn't shame anybody in a manner that's going to hurt them, but I think that shame is valuable. Shame is valuable. If you look in psychological books, shame is actually categorized as a social emotion. Individuals who don't feel shame typically not only remain in toxic patterns and cycles, right? But individual social emotion. You need to feel shame in order to connect with other human beings. You need to feel shame in order to stop doing certain things that are hurting others, right? So that sense that something is wrong is needed. If I lived my whole life thinking that everything was okay, when I had my depression, I wouldn't have changed. That sense that, hold on, something's wrong. It's okay to feel that something's wrong when something's wrong. Now, sometimes if you have low self-esteem, depression, anxiety, you're gonna feel that something's wrong with you, even when nothing's wrong with you. I'm not talking about that. But if something is wrong, if you're going through depression, if you're having problems with drinking, you're having problems with drug abuse, you should feel that something is wrong and something needs to change. You have to have that moment where you're tough with yourself and say to yourself, listen, this ain't working no more. And sometimes you have to kind of step outside of yourself and look at yourself and say, look, I'm doing a real critical, objective analysis of myself and who I am and who I want to be. And you got to say to yourself, listen, this ain't working. Something's not right. And that's okay. It's okay to embrace that, because that's the first step necessary for change, to say, I am not complete. If that's the reality, you have to accept it. Something in our culture makes it so that it's okay to not accept reality. You know, I think I said in my last live stream, I said we have a culture that teaches people to chase their dreams, but they have no idea how to deal with reality. They have no idea how to deal with what's real. And sometimes the reality is that you might be sick and you need to get well. And it's okay to state that. We shouldn't be that fragile, and we shouldn't be that soft as a culture where you will cheer somebody on when they self-destruct. Quit drinking 5 months ago, Jan, and you lose friends in the process. That's good. You feel more whole, you feel at peace with yourself. And you know what? A lot of times those toxic friends, they're better off not in your life anyway. Trust me. There are individuals who stand on the sidelines and cheer you on while you die. They will stand along the sidelines and pat you on the back while you kill yourself slowly. There's that old song, Suicide Solution by Black Sabbath, where Ozzy Osbourne sings, wine is fine, but whiskey's quicker. Suicide is slow with liquor. And a lot of times, if you overdoing it, you slowly killing yourself, and other people who are killing themselves, they will sit back and watch the show. Took you 2.5 years, Jan? Yeah, you kept at it. But you kept at it because you realized that in some way, shape, or form, you were not whole and you needed to make those changes. And I salute you for that. That's not easy. Really not easy. Salute. Everybody give her a round of applause for that. Salute her for that. Because her friends walked out of her life and left her alone. So now that we're here, we better do everything we possibly can to support that woman and let her know she's not alone. Salute her. Everybody give her a round of applause. I want to see 1 million people, round of applause for everybody. Because her friends literally turned their back and walked away from her. So we're your friends now. We got your back. Salute to you. Stay strong. But that's something that everybody has to do in order to grow. We have to say, I'm not whole. I'm not complete. And I had to have that moment myself. I was going through depression for years, and I said to myself, this is just normal. This is how things are. Until it got to the point where I was lonely. I was drinking every single day. I was unhappy, and my life was going nowhere. And I had to realize in some way, shape, or form, despite my intelligence, despite my ambition, despite my big dreams, I wasn't able to handle the reality of life. And I got sick of it. And I said, I sat down and thought about it. I said, how old was I? At the time I was 29, right before I turned 30. I said, I gave pretty much my entire 20s to depression. Everybody else was in relationships. They was having fun. They was traveling. It was going through, they was going through the phase of building a career and going from one sucky job to a sucky job and then a good job and then a really good job and got comfortable. And I was still stuck in the same place. Wasn't moving forward. So I had to realize, got to grow, got to move forward. Something's not right. Jan, you're very welcome. You got to be willing to level up. But in order to level up, you have to say to yourself, something's not right. And we get confused because in our culture, we live in this culture where everybody talks about leveling up, but they talk about leveling up in an egotistical sense. You got to level up because you deserve better. You got to level up because you're a king. You got to level up because you're a queen. You got to level up because you're great. Yeah, David, I survived it. I made it through. And it all came down to that one moment where I said, time to give it up. Time to give this up. But like I was saying, in our culture, we say level up because you deserve more. But sometimes you got to say to yourself, I got to level up because I'm sick. I got to level up because if I don't level up, I'm going to die. Something's not right. So I prefer that honest path as opposed to the egotistical path because sometimes there's issues that don't get addressed if you just stroke people's egos. I want you to level up and I want you to love yourself, but I don't want you to ignore the reality of the situation. And I had to be real harsh with the reality of my situation. So by me admitting, okay, something's not right, I can change. I must change. That's when I began the process of changing. And I'm still in the process of changing, but you keep moving forward. You keep moving forward, you make mistakes, and then you keep progressing, learn from your mistakes, and hopefully in time you get where you want to be. And then go even beyond that. Right? Step 2. The second step in changing your reality is understanding the power of the mind. In Buddhism, the Buddha is quoted as having said, the mind is the maker of all things and everything is created in the mind. Right? Now, of course, we can look at this on a superficial level and just say, how you think is going to affect your life. Great. Wonderful. That's a very clear, simple understanding of what that means. But I want you to look even deeper than that because we began this talk by talking about how your brain actually affects your body. There's a thing called epigenetics. How you think it actually affects your cells and your DNA. How you think it actually affects your immune system. How you think can affect your central nervous system. How you think can make you sick. I've been through that. When I was young, I used to write short stories, but I was going through heavy depression that I couldn't talk to anybody about. And I would write these stories, and then I would end up feeling physically ill after I wrote these stories about death because they were so dark and so hopeless. And I remember one time I was writing a story, and it was just so dark and so brooding. I had to put it down. I said, I got to stop. I got to stop. And I had to go outside and get some sunlight and really just stop and pray and clear my mind because I'm like, am I going insane? Because the honest truth of the matter is that I was making myself feel physically ill just with thought. How many times have you guys said to yourself, I think I might get sick. It's cold outside. And then you get sick. How many of you have thought to yourself, I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight, and you can't sleep? How many of you have thought to yourself, something bad's going to happen, and the next thing you know, something bad happens? Your mind can change your physical reality. They actually have scientists who are doing experiments now to see the power of the mind. And they said that human consciousness can actually make a beam of light shift. Now, you can't make the sun move, but a beam of light headed your way using your consciousness, you can actually make it shift just a little bit. Not a lot. You're not going to have a beam of light flying all over like a lightsaber, but you can shift a beam of physical light with just your mind. So imagine when you tap into the power within yourself, how far you can do that. But when we don't understand that power, we think negative thoughts. We think toxic thoughts. We're around toxic people. We're in toxic environments. And so the power of the mind to change the physical reality of the body gets misused and we destroy ourselves. We destroy ourselves. Is that what people mean by manifesting? Yes, that's a form of manifesting. You can manifest health. I've done that. One time I was I'm diabetic and I wasn't taking care of my blood sugar the way I was supposed to, so my blood sugars were kind of all over the place. And I remember one night I woke up in the middle of the night and I couldn't move my hands. My arm was numb. I couldn't move my hands. I didn't know what was going on. And I said, you know what? I'm going to fix this. Because at the time I was doing a lot of meditation experiments trying to figure out what works and what doesn't work. And I said, I'm going to fix this. And for the next couple of days, I sat and I meditated and I just imagined myself healing my body with blue light, blue healing light. And I imagined the cells in my body regenerating themselves. And I imagined my muscles loosening up. And next thing you know, I could, do all of this. I was actually trying to learn how to play guitar at one point because my fingers was moving so damn good, but I didn't have the time to learn. But I just kind of surprised myself that I was able to use I didn't have to go running to the doctor or anything. I just used my mind. And you can do the exact same thing. You can make yourself sick with your mind, and you can also heal yourself with your mind. A lot of doctors have proven that there's a thing called the placebo effect, where if you take a pill and you believe the pill is going to work, it'll work. You can be somewhere and just your consciousness can heal your body. There's a book I read called the Biology of Belief, where there was a guy who could literally convince people that they could be healed of incurable illnesses just by convincing them that they could be healed. You can be healed, and the next thing you know, people would be healed. Sometimes he would use hypnosis or whatever, but the point of the matter is that sometimes uncurable physical ailments would go away just through the power of the mind. We just have to understand that. And once we become more aware of it, then we can learn how to control our mind. You learn how to control your mind, you learn how to control your physical reality. I was talking to a friend of mine. He was a respiratory therapist, a real smart guy. He's me and him are like exact opposites. He's like this older, white, conservative dude, but very intelligent. We have some lively conversations. And he said kinesiology. I never heard that term before. I never heard kinesiology before. I gotta look that up. You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. Okay, I gotta get that one. I'm definitely gonna get that one. But like I was saying, me and him had some lively conversations, and he used a phrase that I thought was really amazing. He said, "You are the God of all your cells in your body." Think about that for a second. He said, "You're the God of all the cells in your body." Your mentality can create cells, can destroy cells. You can heal cells. You can heal your body. You are the God of this body. Your consciousness, just like God created the universe from nothingness, you can create your body is your universe. And your thoughts are the divine Lord of that. Step 3, trust the mind and listen to the body. And by that, I simply mean you have to understand the power of the mind and understand the mind can handle these things. The mind can handle these things. See, quite often what happens to us is that we're afraid to push. That's one more thing about our culture that I think we need to start getting rid of, is this sense that if something is difficult, that we have to stop doing it. If it's too hard, stop doing it. Everything is based upon convenience. And it's hard to grow spiritually when everything is convenient for you. And a lot of us have been trained where as soon as it gets hard, as soon as it gets difficult, stop pushing. Stop. It's too hard. I need an ergonomic chair. I need a pad. I need one of those big, thick, fat pad cushions to sit and meditate. I can't meditate. It's too noisy. I have to quit for now. I can't sit still. I got to stop meditating. It's not going to work. I tried it once and I didn't like it, so I can't do it. And I think that, we have to understand that beyond fear, beyond our indolence, beyond resistance, that's where change comes. Change can only come when you're willing to go beyond what's inconvenient. Trust the mind is more powerful than you think it is. We're ready to quit as soon as something becomes inconvenient, or when it becomes hard, when it becomes stressful, when it becomes devastating. But the path to self-salvation, you're going to be devastated. Because keep in mind, you're committing murder. You're killing your old self. So you're going to be a little uncomfortable when you stick a knife into the heart of who you don't want to be anymore and sacrifice it. You have to sacrifice who you are to become who you want to be. And that is very difficult because, like it says, there's a book about Odin. The Norse god Odin. My mind is all over the place. The Norse god Odin wanted wisdom, right? And in order for him to get wisdom, he had to sacrifice his own eye. So he hung himself from a tree by his own eye. And the wind is blowing and the hurricanes are whipping all over the place and the tree is flipping all left and right and his eyes being ripped out of the socket and his body is in pain. And then afterward, when he lost that eye, he was granted wisdom. And he had a line, and I think it was in the Prose Edda, where he said, I sacrifice myself to myself. Are you going to do that? You got to sacrifice yourself to yourself. That's uncomfortable. When the self you want to be, the self that you're going to be in the future has to come back to this moment and kill who you are now, it's uncomfortable. That's why they say the true mystic must not fear death, because you're going to die. Metaphorically, spiritually, you got to die in order to become something new. That's what the story of Christ is supposed to be about. Kathy, you're very welcome. That's what the story of Christ is supposed to be about. It ain't about separating yourself from the story of Jesus. You're supposed to see Jesus within you, God within you. This is you look at any holy book, whether it's the Bible, the Quran, the Bhagavad Gita, the Mahabharata, all of it. It's about you. That's why it's important. It ain't important because it's about somebody up there. There's that being up there, or that entity out in space, or that infinite force that animates the whole universe is here. If there was no connection between it and you, then what would be the point to even contemplate it? Who would care? You care because you feel it here. The story, you feel it here. The theology, you feel it here. You're supposed to feel it here. Thank you for the donation, Alyssa. Thank you very much. It's supposed to be real to you here. So trust the mind. The mind is capable of things we don't even know the depth of what the mind can do. That's why people are very afraid. When you say to people, go see a hypnotherapist, it's amazing. I ain't going there. Why? Because people are afraid of what's in it. They don't know what's in there. People don't know themselves well enough, so they are afraid. People are afraid to look inside themselves. When you go to a therapist, and a therapist might say to you, you know what, I want you to write a poem about your trauma. I can't do that. You're afraid of what's in it. You're afraid of what's going to come out. And Nami, you're very, very welcome. But just remember that. Trust the mind. Trust the capacity of the mind. Don't be afraid and think that you're going to go too far and the mind can't handle it. Right? Don't think you're going to go too far and your mind can't. No, your mind can handle, your mind can handle all kinds of things. Your very reality, your mind is creating it. You don't see your role in the creation of it. You don't see your role in the creation of your reality, but your mind is doing all of that. And it's doing it so rapidly that you think that is real, but your mind is creating it as you're looking at it. Your mind is creating, like, for instance, your brain is just getting signals. Your brain is locked inside this airtight box that we call a skull. Your brain never sees light. So it's picking up on signals from the eyes, from the ears, from the nose, from the lips, from the tongue, from the hands. It's just picking up signals all day. And it's making up everything around you based upon those signals. It's interpreting signals and nothing more. But it's happening so quick that you're caught up in the reality of it. You think it's real. But the truth of the matter is, you don't know what's outside of our skull. You don't know what's out there, really. You're just detecting signals with the sense organs. So your brain is really making it all up. And that's how you are with your life. You're making it all up, don't see your role in it, and you get caught up in it. Why do you get caught up in it? Because your body is having physical reactions. You think a thought, your body has a physical reaction, and therefore you think it's real. It is a game. The brain and the body are both sneaky liars. You'll think to yourself, that person doesn't like me. And then all of a sudden, your body will have this weird reaction. Your blood pressure goes up, cortisol level goes up. You might get a slight headache. Your breathing changes. So now all of a sudden, the person who is not even paying you any attention, the thought that they don't like you becomes so real because you feel it in your body. I used to have a friend of mine. Who had a girlfriend, and me and her were very, very, very cool. But she had a rocky relationship with him. So if they got into an argument, she would think that I was mad at her. So she would go around like having these weird mood swings where 1 minute me and her would be very cool, And then the next minute, she would just hate my guts. Because in her mind, she'd be thinking, oh, I had an argument with so-and-so, so Devin doesn't like me anymore. And for her, it was terrifying. You can look at her face and look at her body language. That reality that I have a problem with her started to affect her body. And that's what makes it feel real. It feels real. So you get caught up in that. But once you understand the power of the mind to create reality in a negative way, you understand the power of the mind to create reality in a positive way, and you can trust the mind. The mind is powerful. Trust it. Don't fight it. Don't resist it. Trust that the mind can handle it. And you just keep moving forward. And whatever happens, accept it as reality, but don't get caught up in it. And understand, trust that the mind has the capacity to handle these things. You have to strengthen yourself. You have to empower yourself. You have to train yourself, but the mind can handle it. Now, there's another one. Listen to the body. What do I mean when I say listen to the body? The body is going to tell you quite often when you're doing something that makes it unhappy. The body doesn't use words. The body uses sensations to communicate. So your body's going to let you know when you're doing something it doesn't like. The other day, right? For the last few months, I've been trying to mostly eat plant-based food. And on Fridays, I eat fish. Fridays and Saturdays, I eat fish. And I found this real good Mexican restaurant that makes real good tilapia. And pico de gallo. Oh, my God, it's amazing. Right? But one day I'm at the park with my sons. And for some reason, I said to myself, I'm in the mood for a honey bun. Brindley, I can't hear you, but I can read what you're saying. But for some odd reason, I said, I want a honey bun. So I got my sons with me. We go to the store. I'm like, listen, let's get a honey bun, boys. And I thought they would be excited. They're like, no, we don't want it, Dad. I'm like, come on, I got to urge for a honey bun. So anyway, I grabbed a honey bun. I grabbed a soda. I don't even really drink soda. And I'm drinking this soda. And I'm eating a honey bun. And first of all, because I haven't eaten sugar in so long, it was disgusting. It really wasn't good. And then my body started to feel weird and groggy. And my head started to feel weird. My body was telling me, like, what are you doing? Why are you eating this? You spent all these months trying to lose weight and purify me. Now you're going to eat all of this sugar and now I feel like crap. So I haven't done that since. Because my body let me know. I had to listen to my body. My body was letting me know. And a lot of us, we're so busy looking outward for stimulation that we really don't look inward at our own minds or our own bodies. You have to develop a positive relationship with your body. That's a big part of changing. Listen to what your body's saying. When I was young, I used to drink, and it would get to the point where I would take so many shots or drink so much, my body would like reject it. My body's letting me know I don't want no more. But I'm fighting my body like, no, we're going to take one more shot. But now that I'm older, I learned how to listen to what my body's telling me. I'm listening to what my body is telling me. And I'm happier because of it. I have a healthier relationship with my body and my own mind. I haven't gone totally vegan yet, Dr. Ng. Not yet. Not yet. I'm trying. I'm like right there because I only really eat fish on Friday and Saturday. But I'm right there though. Hopefully soon. I did lose like 13 pounds. I got a ways to go. Because I packed on some weight during quarantine. But Brindley, you're a vegan. I'm trying to get there. And once again, my body is telling me to become vegan. Because during quarantine, I found that I was lactose intolerant. So my body is like, okay, enough is enough of these animal products. So I'm listening to my body. I'm trying. But then somebody told me they got a pill, a lactate pill. You can eat cheese. You take the pill, you eat cheese. So once again, I'm ignoring my body. So I gotta practice what I preach and really get back to listening to what my body is telling me. My body is telling me, like, kick the cheese out. So I gotta really start paying attention to what my body is telling me. But if you trust your mind and listen to your body, that's a very important part of changing. Because once you start listening to your body is going to tell you what behaviors you need to stop. Your will, your habits, your stubbornness, your ego is going to tell you to do one thing, but your body's going to say, yo, chill. When you drink too much and you have a hangover, your body's telling you, chill. You know, for a while when I was putting on a bunch of weight, my sons would be like, Daddy, let's go outside and play. I'm trying to run with them. My body's too tired. I'm too heavy to run with them. That's my body saying, yo, chill. So build that relationship with your body, and that will help you to change and trust your mind. What else? Number 4, another step for change is renunciation. We talked about I sacrifice myself to myself. It's time to sacrifice something else so that you can move forward. You have to renounce something. There's an anime. I don't know if you guys watch anime. Full Metal Alchemist, and they was talking about the magic system that they use in that anime. And a big part of that magic system is if you want to gain something. Oh, thank you, I appreciate it. Yeah, losing weight was tough. I still got ways to go. But in Full Metal Alchemist, they were talking about how the magic system is based on an even exchange. You want to gain power, fine, but you gotta give something up. And one of the brothers in Full Metal Alchemist, he wanted to save somebody's life, so he had to like give up his own body. So you have this disembodied like young boy with this innocent voice. He's trapped inside this big steel armor because he had to give up his body in order to use magic to save somebody else's life. So what you have to do is understand that in order to make change, you're going to have to give something up. You're going to have to. You can't hold on to everything and expect your life to change. You have to pay. You got to pay. And that price could be something very small and simple that you could just, maybe your price is giving up TV. Maybe giving up, if you watch 3-4 hours of TV a day, which would give me a headache. That gives me headaches. If I watch TV all day, that gives me a headache. But at night before I go to bed, I watch like an hour and a half of TV, if that, you know. But you might have to give up watching TV for a couple of hours. It might be giving up certain foods. It might be giving up drinking. It might be giving up hanging around toxic people. It might be giving up a little bit of sleep. Because a lot of times if you go through depression, you become hypersomnic, which means that you start sleeping too much. So you might have to force yourself to get off the bed and not sleep as much. You might have to stop working so much. Your life might feel fulfilled when you're working all the time, but you're going through burnout and it becomes stressful for you. So in order to make a change in your life, you have to sit down and have a serious conversation about yourself, about what you're going to stop doing. Because it ain't going to happen unless you do. And you have to be real with yourself and honest with yourself. You might have to have a conversation when you say to yourself, I'm trying to become a better father. Okay, so if you want to become a better father, what are you going to give up? What are you going to give up? I know guys who had that struggle of wanting to spend more time with their kids. They had to give up hanging out with their friends all the time. They might have had to give up, alcohol. They might have had to give up having a certain level of freedom. For a lot of guys who might not spend as much time with their kids, they have a lot of freedom. Having the kids around restricts your freedom to a certain extent. It's very fulfilling, but you can't just get up and go whenever you want. You might have to give that up. What are you going to give up to achieve what you want? You want a better relationship? Okay, fine. What are you going to give up? Some people are very aggressive and argumentative. Are you going to give up being aggressive all the time? Are you going to give up having to be right all the time? Are you going to give up having to have power over the person that you're with? Are you going to have to? Sometimes you got to give up your guard. You build all these barriers around ourselves to protect ourselves so that we can keep people out. And then you start wanting somebody to come in. What are you going to have to give up? You got to give up some of these barriers. And you're going to have to give up some of your defense mechanisms. It's okay to have coping skills, but coping mechanisms can be dangerous. What are you going to have to give up? You got to give up social media. You waste too much time on it. Yeah. Plus, social media is one of those things that's like it can really change how you see things. I remember when Trump was about to be elected, there was so much going on social media. People were really freaking out. People were like getting in arguments. People were fighting in public. It was crazy because social media had been hijacked and just used really to spread propaganda and nonsense on a level we never saw before. People always spread propaganda and nonsense on social media, but it had become so toxic at that point. There was a lot going on in people's minds during that time. It was crazy. It's real crazy. But yeah, what are you? It has to be an even exchange too. That's one more thing you got to remember. If you're going to give up something in order to gain something, it has to be an even exchange. So you can't say, I want something this magnificent and I'm going to give up this. I want to live a healthy life and lose some weight, but I want to, I'll give up like 15 minutes of sleep. Nah, it's not enough. I want to be able to save, by the end of the year, I want to be able to save $10,000. What are you going to give up? Okay, I'll give up buying soda. Might not be enough. Me either, Robert. I don't watch the news either. I'm very selective where I get my information from. And usually, instead of watching the news, I'll like actively try to research things. I'll try to read peer review articles, or there's very few individuals who I feel like really put the truth out there, so I'll stick to them. What do you want? How important is it? Now, if it's something small, you can give up something small. If it's something big and life changing, you're gonna have to give up something big and life changing. It has to be even exchange, or else the magic won't work. Full Metal Alchemist. And we're all alchemists anyway. If you change the way you think and change your neurochemistry and change your biochemistry, that's a form of alchemy. When the alchemists in the old days used to talk about changing lead into gold, that was not literal. They were talking about changing something, what they call gross and impure, into something pure and valuable. And that's you. All of these terms, all these words. Thank you, Robert. All these terms, all these words, whether it be alchemy, whether it be theology, whether it be Kabbalah, whether it be Hindu, whatever term you want to use, it's all about you anyway. Whether you're talking about Islam or you're talking about Christianity, it's all about you. It's all telling you what you need to know so you can move forward. Thank you for the donation, Dana. I appreciate it. How can we grow? How can you move forward? Simple. What are you going to give up? Let's start with that. What are you going to give up? You're an individual who's aggressive, you argue. How about you give that up? You're a person who's prone to melancholy. You might have to give that up. I was like that. You know, when I was younger, I was going through depression and I didn't know how to control it, and I felt lonely all the time. So sometimes I found myself using my depression as a means of trying to connect with people, maybe, and get like a connection and support, and some kind of people to feel sorry for me or something. I had to give that up. Let me stop doing that so I can grow. What are you going to give up? Next thing. 5. What is something we have to do in order to change our reality? And this is something I thought was kind of cool. Kind of cool, maybe a little scary. But I think step 5 is you got to embrace chaos. What do I mean by that? Well, quite often when we think of chaos, we think of things just going crazy, right? We think of things not working out for us, everything deteriorating, everything falling apart. And yes, that is chaos, but chaos is also very subtle, right? And in the Kemetic spirituality, what Western people and people in Europe call Egyptian, the earlier name for it was Kemet, right? So in Kemetic spirituality, there were 2 concepts that governed the universe. There was Ma'at, which is the principle of balance, reason, logic, order, justice, reciprocity, right? And then it was Isfet. Isfet was disorder, injustice, irrationality, insanity, entropy, right? And chaos can be a subtle thing. You could be trying to, turn on the light, and all of a sudden you turn the light on and the light bulb just goes out. That's a form of chaos. Today I was trying to use my computer. I got my computer over here because I'm on YouTube, and I got my phone over here. I'm on Instagram. But I was trying to use my computer, and it was for like 2 days. Couldn't get this stupid thing to do anything. It's a subtle form of chaos. And then I figured out how to fix it, right? But why is chaos necessary? Well, chaos is necessary because anything's possible. Think about that for a moment. The reason why the supreme being, the absolute God, whatever you want to call it, allows chaos in the universe is because he wants us to participate in the creation process. So anything's possible. And in a universe where anything's possible, that means some things are going to fall apart. But that's necessary. If everything always worked, would you grow? If everything always worked, would you look into the future to see where you can have a better life? Would you look within yourself? If everything goes exactly how you want, would you take a moment to look within yourself? We only look within ourselves when we're dissatisfied. We only look for peace when things are not working the way we want. You only seek God when you got to confront something in your life that ain't working. It's very important that in order for us to become creative, hey, how you doing? Thank you for joining. In order for us to become creative and become co-creators of the universe, we are going to have to counter chaos. We're going to have to encounter chaos and then counter chaos. And that makes us grow. And we can only really grow by understanding that entropy of deterioration is a necessary part of the universe. We might not like it. As human beings, with our limited perception of things, we hate it when we don't get our way. We hate when we're not happy. We hate when we struggle. We hate the pain. And sometimes it's serious. You know, my hometown, I moved from my hometown. I'm in Maryland now. My hometown, I keep hearing stories. I'm from Hartford, Connecticut. I keep hearing stories every week about young kids killing each other. Young kids, teenagers, just busting guns and killing each other. That's crazy to me. That's chaos that I can't tolerate and can't stand. However, that chaos is going to bring something great out of one of those young men, and they're going to step up and solve that problem. We just have to continue doing what we're doing and planting seeds of righteousness and knowledge so that they can grow. But without that chaos, can we create a Messiah without chaos? And I don't want to get too deep into all that because as soon as I said that word, my brain went in a whole different. I was about to start really going deep. Right? We ain't gonna go that deep. I've been doing this for like almost an hour. I gotta go to sleep. I drop my kids off at school, so I ain't gonna go too deep. We'll talk about that another time. But yes, embrace the chaos. Understand that. Dina said, "Go deep." I ain't gonna go that deep right now. Don't get me gassed up. Don't gas me up. I not be thankful for the donation. But yeah, like I was saying, in order to awaken the greatness within us, you have to embrace the chaos and understand it as a necessary part of the universe. It's necessary. Nicole, thank you for the donation. It's necessary that sometimes we have to go through the chaos in order to create order. We expect order, but because we don't understand that we have the ability to create order. Once you understand you have the ability to create it, that changes your whole perception on things not going the way you want. Embrace that. Embrace the obstacle. Embrace the challenge. You know, it's like that movie Back to the Future. Back to the Future Part 2. Which I thought was a really great underrated film. Back to the Future Part 2, the character Marty McFly, whenever he was in a situation where somebody would call him chicken, he had to act. And there would be situations when people would be arguing with him and he would try to walk away from fights. And then he would walk away and somebody would always say, "What are you, chicken?" And then he had to turn around and confront whatever was attacking him. That's how life is. It's fed. You try to run away from it and hide from it. What are you, chicken? How can you grow? How can you grow if you chicken? How can you learn if you chicken? If you shy away from any obstacle, everything got to go perfectly for you in order for you to stand up and be powerful. That's not real power. What are you, chicken? And the last one. In order to make yourself change and change in reality, you got to be devoted. And not even devoted in a religious sense, not even devoted in a sense of something external. You got to be devoted to you, which is hard because a lot of us don't have positive relationships with ourselves. We were just talking about how you had to develop a relationship with your mind and develop a relationship with your body. A lot of us don't have positive relationships with ourselves. A lot of us, and some of it is because of trauma and things of that nature, but some of it is because we never really think about it. We spend all of our time being trained to look for external stimulation. We don't look in. We don't live in a culture that nurtures that. We don't live in a culture that nurtures looking within ourselves. So we don't have positive relationships with ourselves. So it's hard to be devoted to you. You know, that's why a lot of us develop what we refer to as an external locus of control. We need somebody else to tell us what to do in order to energize us within ourselves. But it's hard to just say, "I'm devoted to me." I want you to be devoted to you, and not only be devoted to you, but I want you to be devoted to your future self. Get a very clear image of who you want to be. You want to lose weight? Cool. Get an image of that in your mind. You want to become more successful and have more financial stability? Fine. Imagine that in the future and be devoted to that. Let that be your supreme self. And focus all your energy and your devotion to the supreme self that is you in the future, whoever that is. You might want somebody who is more compassionate and less angry. You might want to become somebody who is more successful, somebody who has more love to give, somebody with more love experience, somebody with more connection to the family, more friends, bigger social, whatever that is, bigger social circle, whatever that is. Be totally devoted to that being. It's you, right? But because we have an external locus of control, see it as something else. Your future self is something and someone else, and be devoted to that. That's when you're devoted to your church or to your job or to your children. I would do anything for my children, but sometimes I hesitate when it comes to doing things for me, right? So we have to be devoted to ourselves, and that's okay. I'm not trying to create an emotional hierarchy where I tell you you got to love yourself more than your kids. That's not what I'm saying. You can be devoted to your kids and still be devoted to yourself too. You can be devoted to your husband or be devoted to your wife and still be devoted to you. They don't have to be conflict. Be so used to seeing everything in terms of hierarchy and conflict. Just be devoted. Be devoted to who you want to become and love yourself on a real deep level and devote yourself on a real deep level. When a person is truly devoted to God, they speak to God every day, right? They pray every day, right? Why can't you talk to yourself? Why can't you inspire yourself and be devoted to yourself every single day? Muslims, our Muslim brothers and sisters, they make salat 5 times a day. And that's minimum. Not to mention the other times throughout the course of the day where they might just say, praise be to Allah. They might just give Allah thanks. They might be eating a meal and just give Allah thanks. They might just look up and see the sun and just give Allah thanks. So you pray 5 times a day minimum. So imagine you just start with that. Just talk to yourself. And I'm not talking about idolatry. Just talk to yourself 5 times a day minimum. Just be like, you know what? You're doing a good job. Just be like, you know what? I love myself. Smitty Burns, peace, brother, peace. Just say, I love myself. 5 times a day. And be totally devoted to yourself and to who you're going to become. I love myself and I love who I'm going to become. Anami, you're very welcome. I love myself and I love who I'm going to become. And give that self your utmost focus and devotion. And that will help you to engage in the process and love the process of change. And last but not least, I didn't even put it in my notes, but I want to say this before I go. Gratitude. Be grateful. In 2020, that was a rough year for me. Quarantine happened and everybody was locked indoors. My wife and myself separated. I was going through a rough time financially, emotionally. And then one day I said to myself, let me just stop and think about all the things I have to be grateful for. And I said to myself, I'm just going to focus every single day and meditate on gratitude. And at first it started off with, let me think of some things I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for my sons. I have 2 beautiful sons. My sons are healthy. Coronavirus is running rampant, but my sons are safe. Praise God for that. And then the next thing you know, I had like I went from spending 5 minutes a day being grateful. And before I knew it, I was so grateful for so many things. My meditation on gratitude went from 5 minutes sometimes to like almost an hour. Sometimes I would have to stop myself and say, okay, we counted all the things we're grateful for. We got to go to work now. LaBelle, I'm glad you found it life-changing. Wow, I feel it's beautiful. Thank you so much. Peace and blessings. But I want you guys to understand that changing is a tough process. It's a brutal process, but give yourself the same love you give to other people when they're going through a hard time. You have friends that go through hard times and you're right there with them every day, checking on them. Hey, you all right? You okay? You good? You need anything? I'll stop by. I'm going to bring you some food. How the kids doing? Right? Our friends go through tough times. We got their back. Have your back too. And be grateful. Even for the challenges, even for the tough times. And I know sometimes that sounds insensitive, especially people who are really going through rough things. Life can be hard. Life can be hard. Life can be really hard. But at the same time, understand that once you embrace the chaos, you understand that you have the capacity to not only overcome obstacles and adapt to obstacles, but you have the capacity in you to be strong enough to create order out of this chaos. Ordo ab chaos. Order out of chaos. Charlene, you're very welcome. So let me wrap up. Shout out to everybody who made a donation. Shout out to everybody who showed up. I want you guys to let me know. Because I think you guys can leave me reviews or leave me messages on my page. Let me know if you guys want me to change the time that I do this. Because like I was saying earlier, I usually do 11 and 11, but I want to like really have at least one where all of my followers can show up. So if some individuals find it easier to show up during the day, if you find it easier in the evening, let me know. I'll try to adapt something and come up with something. And I want just everybody to just bring their positive energy and bring their love, because we're all here to support each other. And I just want to feel your energy. I want to bring all my positive energy. So let's see if we can get as many people in as possible and, and just vibe with each other. I would love that. I feel I got like 700 something followers. If I can have 700 something people just come through and we all vibe together, thank you, Julia, for the donation. If you can, so yeah, if you can leave me a message. This time is perfect, Dr. Ang. Yeah, I think a lot of people find this time really, really good. But I would like to see if everybody can come through. I would see if we can get more people to come through. So this time is perfect, Konami. Yeah, you know what? A lot of people who sometimes they might have issues sleeping. You're welcome, Vince. I do have a circle. I've been neglecting it though. I can't lie. I think I started the circle right before I moved here to Maryland, but I'll go back to it. Julia, perfect time. Okay, so if y'all feel like this is the perfect time, I'll keep this time then. I'll keep this time, and then you guys let me know if there's anything that I could do to make it more convenient and easier for y'all. Okay, but let me end the live. Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings.